All right, so this is the Finance Committee meeting for the City of Ocean Shores. It's August 28th. It's 5 p.m. and we are at the Ocean Shores Library. We got 7 things and we'll probably get off track like we normally do talking about other financial things. So I will just start with, as we always do, our 2025 July financials. And what we had talked about in the past is kind of anything that's a little bit different or might look odd. One of the main things on the first page of your executive summary is, I'm just gonna touch on it a little bit again. You'll see City Hall is at 53.95%. That's above our target of 2917. And again, 2917 is an average. We understand that departments ebb and flow as they, have their expenses versus revenue. So if it's not something drastic, we're okay. But that one specifically, like we said at the last Finance Committee meeting, is related to our erosion control. 001145 is the beginning of our erosion control, and that is because we only budgeted 700,000 in expense. We've spent way more than that because we got those grants. Once we get through that budget project and we do our budget amendment, that will shift to where it's supposed to be. So that was one specifically I wanted to chat about.
Sarah, when do you expect we'll do a budget amendment?
We are going to do one budget amendment this year, and that budget amendment will probably happen in November. And the reason we are only doing the one is because we chose to do this big budget project this year. And that one will help us. That's the action item list that we had. That's number 7. That's the last action item, because we will have to do some cleanup in that aspect to make this whole thing look the way it should.
Okay, so all the accounts will be done then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I'll get to where we are on that.
So I have a question before you, when I print, and this is a technical question. When I printed this out, I got this, whatever, I think it's a 9-page document. And then my printer kept spitting out and I got the same thing, but it's a 74-page document. Do you have any clue what's going on? This is what I asked for. And so let her just take a look at that and why have I got all of those 74 pages as what looks like?
This is our agenda for today.
Oh.
This is our whole agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, no biggie. I just put the financial report in because I feel like it's more helpful for everybody. Just maybe because I did council for a million years before full on, but it's just easier if everybody can see everything in the packet. So then we go to it's page 7 of your agenda. I'm kind of gonna go to page 7 and then I'll flip back to the page that we were just at. So again, to note, you'll see that Fund 102, which is the golf course fund, is at 102.01%. Again, we went over that at the last Finance Committee meeting. That is related to the netting project being billed there. We need to do the budget amendment to then up the expense so that expense is offsetting the revenue. Then there's a very unique one. I'll just stay on this page that we wanted to bring your attention to because this one looks like what is the finance team doing, but it was actually the council's fault, so we'll start there. This is down at Fund 406. This is the mitigation land bank. So 2 council meetings ago, the city planner, Marshall Reed, came and explained to all of you that when they did the obstruction removal project at the municipal airport, we had the FAA pay for us to do those for the mitigation credits. And it turns out that in 1984, the Department of Ecology had already done that mitigation, so we actually wanted those credits back. So we had to pay the FAA back for that, and that went to council and was approved for 93,600. So obviously, we didn't have that figured in or as an expense, so we can take care of that at a later date, but that's just another one of those things, and that has since cleared. I still think we're waiting on Marshall to get notification that the
Mhm.
credits have been transferred. So once we have that, then he'll have more of an ability to go and look at things like the fire and private properties that are still trying to do what they want to do. Anything on that? So if you'll flip back to page 5, which is that summary narrative. So those are the 3 accounts that are like not exactly in our 29% arena. So we wanted to just bring those to your attention as we kind of get up to the place that they'll be fixed.
Just a question, there's one more, the Water Capital Improvement Fund is at 72%.
Yeah, and that's because they've done a lot of their purchases that were authorized for the biennium already.
Okay.
Always check those, and I appreciate that. I don't look at those as hardcore because they have a lot of things that come up or the council has approved, and they tend to do whatever they ask for straight away. So it's not over a 2-year period like we had this kind of modeled for.
And that's okay, I mean, that's
Yeah.
actually better way
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah. So on that 5th page, we typically go over that bottom left corner, which is the comparison between 24 and 25. So our property tax is up 4% over 24. Our sales tax is up 2% over 24. Utility is up 1% over 24. So where it looks like it gets a little devastating, the building permit says -6. That's up 2% from last month alone. Which is it's better. Bigger. I just want to follow up, like last month was one thing. So, because you don't have last month in front of you. Hotel motel tax is up 9%. That's 5% more than last month. And you could see with our 23 to 24, it was down 11%. So that makes me feel a little bit better when it comes to hotel motel tax. I do hope to help that fund by way of, and anybody that was on agenda review this morning, the short-term rental ordinance that we plan to bring forward. We'll be able to capture kind of money that I don't think the city's capturing right now. Then real estate tax is down 9%, but that's up 4% from last month. And of course, the 23 to 25 comparison was down 21%. So, and gasoline is a -5, and that's down 5% more from last month. And that is why the tabs for electric cars are so expensive, because we don't pay gas. So I don't know, I don't know, that's not great. So, I mean, it kind of seems to be trending a little bit, but it's kind of a bummer that it's going down in that capacity, because our gas tax, 10% of that is what funds our street fund. So
As I look at and interpret these numbers, property tax up tells me that we have more properties that are being lived in and paying taxes. And the sales tax, you know, there's just more people here. Same thing with utility, building permits being down. We're building less buildings in this year than we did last year. Am I interpreting that correctly? There's less buildings being built this year than last year.
I think it just goes through seasons. We get money for
Yeah.
property taxes at certain points of the year. I think the building kind of lulls a little bit when everybody goes into vacation mode each year. So I don't know that I don't know that we're on a downtrend on one and up on the other, specifically property taxes. I mean, those are done by a property tax levy, so we kind of know what we're gonna get, just not down to the dollar, because assessments are done through the year and so on, so,
Okay.
yeah. I am completed with July's financial update. Do you have anything related to that financial summary or
Thank you.
any questions on any lines you might have seen? Okay, golf course, we kind of belabored at our last meeting. Again, as note there, we should kind of be looking at an RFP for contractual reasons. I will report that the profit that I sent a demand for wire today from them to the city of Ocean Shores was for $29,429. So that meant they owed us in profit $29,429. It could be nothing next month, so I don't really have, I went through their financial statements and kind of saw some things that I have questions on, and so we'll kind of work through those questions with their accountant and see if we can get answers. I do know that they had a rather large expense because they've gone cashless, so everything they do there goes through a Merchant Square account. So they had like $2,400 or something in just merchant fees for people using their credit cards there. We ultimately pay those fees, so it's like I don't really know.
Yeah, but most places now are charging to cover those fees. Why is the golf course not doing that?
No, they're separate entities, so we don't control,
Yeah, we don't manage them.
we don't control what they charge for transaction fees.
So I view this as like super educational this go around. Like we put money into the golf course in the past, like this isn't new to us, whether it was big irrigation projects or bridges or whatever. There'll be a lot of things that I will say, we have to see, we have to have, we can't be
Mhm.
charged for. This is what we anticipate financially. And maybe that just wasn't done because we didn't know all the things the last go around. So that will definitely be our part, when the council decides to put this out for RFP and kind of start combing through whatever applications we get.
So when you say put out for RFP, we're going to actively look for new managers for the golf course, is that?
Well, they're on a contractual agreement that is coming to an end, so I don't know what the terminology is. If there's just an automatic renewal or it ends. I didn't look that up. So if it automatically ends, then the city council would need to put out an RFP, just like we do for our janitor, just like we do, to see who would be interested. So anyway, so tomorrow we should have $29,429 that we can put back towards the golf course account, and that is really all I have this time on the golf course, because we kind of beat it up last time. Okay. This one,
Can I just ask one more quick question about the golf course?
yeah,
And that, how is the profit that we're making now compared to the profit or that we were making before?
we
Because-
made no profit before.
Okay,
We had capital expenditures before.
okay.
So that was the kind of give and take on that lease agreement, is that up until May, I think it was, of 2021 or 2022, he didn't pay rent Kurt didn't pay rent or anything like that, and then we were responsible, the city was, for all capital projects. But we also then didn't pay employees, we didn't buy new golf carts, we didn't do any of that kind of stuff. But we did the front and back 9 irrigation project. We had to repair that bridge in some capacity that goes over the golf course. So we were in charge of capital improvements. Would those hit the bank that hard if we would have been putting away every budget season, $100,000 or $50,000? No, but we didn't have any profit, zero. I would argue that we still don't have any profit, zero. Because this might be a great month, but next month we could get $0 again and owe them. So
When we went.
That's what I'm trying to figure out is, what have we gained? I know we've gained in the fact that we're not actively managing some of the projects like we had to before, but what have we really gained?
So this is my paradigm, and it touches on just what you just said. As a council member, I never considered the golf course to be an income source, but what it contributes to the community economically, because it draws tourists in and they spend money in all the other places, yada, yada, yada. So my best hope is that we always broke even, and any profit we made was a bonus. But it's not what's the word I want? It's not like the ambulance utility, or it's not like the water bill where again, you're supposed to break even. But I never considered it a revenue source. A profit source is better than a revenue source. Do I need to adjust my thinking because I don't know much about the golf course and the golf course finances, and I've relied a lot on the information that Rich Hartman has provided and his dissatisfaction with the management of the golf course. What I hear from golfers is that it's a much nicer course to play on, and they've made some improvements. The water irrigation that Kurt put in was one of them, but the greens are greener. The whole course maintenance is better. What I don't know and have always wanted to know is the nutrient runoff. Do we have more phosphate adjacent to the golf course than we do down at Fishhook Canal, which would indicate, contrary to what Troon told us, that they're going to carefully manage the grounds and the ground fertilizer application. Those are all management things, and I don't know that those are happening, and I don't know how to find out if those things are happening. So I don't have my hands on to have this forming low opinion of management, but my overall perception is we deserve better management than it appears to me that we're getting. And so my question, if I'm making any kind of sense, is do we really want to go out for new management? Are the things happening from a financial perspective alarming enough to say that Troon is not carrying out what I thought was being promised? Because when we reviewed the Troon contract, I said, wow, this is better than peanut butter and jelly. I mean, this is.
yeah, I think that they were also provided some mildly inflated numbers in the source of revenue, in the source of golfers that go there. And so when Troon presented to the city of Ocean Shores, they presented based on those, and then shortly thereafter found out that that wasn't reality. So I think had the conversation started just a little bit more transparently, we might be in a different place. And I know that they've worked really hard to get it, but I think that for the city to have a management company, the city is spending way too much time on it.
Yeah, and I
At least
agree with
that's
you.
my opinion financially.
Say that last again.
That is my opinion
Right.
financially.
Yeah, I agree with you, Richard. I don't think we need to look at it as a profit-making business, but I also don't want us to have to keep paying them and be in deficit when, and I agree that everything that I heard, including that meeting I was at way back when, was that the numbers they got were way inflated as to what the business was going to be. But I think we need to look at, and it depends on whether the contract can be automatically renewed or whether we go out for an RFP. But I don't want us in the situation where we're constantly paying them.
Well,
either.
we're not
in
even
a
being asked
deficit.
at this moment for capital improvements. So in the past, where we would have had no overhead, but those capital expenditures, we're doing this. And there is no capital improvements being done. So what happens when those are? Anyway. That's all I have to say about the golf course.
Okay.
Okay, so the next topic, I'm sure looked a little bit weird, but this is a level of transparency for the finance committee, as I don't believe that had been provided before as we go through like financial pickups on certain situations that I think you should know about. District 7 is the fire district at Capelas. Some of 109, all over the place, and fire district 7 is ambulance billing. So what we charge them for is when our ambulances have to leave our city and go out to that district that our citizens do not pay for, we get reimbursed, and there's a rate at which we get reimbursed when we take them, when our first responders take them all the way to the hospital. There is a reimbursement rate for when we do a meetup. So there's a couple different rates that we get paid. In June of 2024, when I started and Shantae really started, at that exact moment, as if the world couldn't collide worse, the Image Trend, who was doing our ambulance billing on our behalf, was transferring over to EMSMT. Yeah, she'll say it. I haven't still figured it out. Which was a different billing company, and they were already talking to one another, and everything was supposed to transfer over. Well, everything didn't transfer over, and we started asking questions like, why aren't we getting checks? Where's the money? And so then that went down kind of a rabbit hole, as you've seen with everything that we open a file on. And it had been being billed pretty not great for quite some time. And as we dug deeper, we said, okay, well, we have to go get the city's money back. I don't know what kind of show you guys are running, but this isn't how it works. We're a government entity. We can't gift services. We can't gift funds. And so Shantae worked night and day with them. I sat on more emails and calls than I care to admit, and they get it all worked out, and we begin this very flowing billing. This is what you owe us. We're going to start it at June. This is when it came to my attention. This stuff is, going wrong. June of 24. We sent out our first bill, and the chief for District 7 said, not going to pay that. I'm sure you guys don't know my attitude. These guys know my attitude, and that gets me razzle dazzle. So I said, well, what do you mean? And in your agenda packets, you'll see a contract that I had never seen, which is interesting to me because I had electronically signed on all 3 of the mayors so far that I've worked under's behalf with an approval. I had never seen this. It's a contract from 2021, and it's our our interlocal agreement. Hoquiam has one with District 7. We have one with them. And there's a section in there that speaks to if the city bills 6 months past the billing date, they don't have to pay. Well, before I even looked at an attorney's email address, I knew that that wasn't legal. First of all, one government entity cannot gift to another. We can't gift public funds. So that's at best, it would mean we can't charge you interest and penalties because we've sent the bill out late. We can't say to you, hey, we sent it out in February, it was due February 15th or May, it was due April 1st, we're gonna charge you with a penalty. So I said that back. The chief for that district said, thanks. I sent a big, thing. We're willing to work with you. We know it's a lot of money because at that time it was $20,000 in past due. So, we know it's a lot of money. We're happy to work with you if you need to like add a $2,000 or something, not the numbers like that, but whatever you need to do, like you're a small district. We're not trying to hem anybody up. That was in May. And so then April's bill went out, May's bill went out, June's bill went out, July's bill went out, all unpaid. So her argument was this past due for 2024 that she didn't want to pay because it had been billed later than she was willing to pay. But then had gone all these things. And my last correspondence was May. She says, I'm gonna talk to our attorney. Well, you can talk to anybody you want to. It is not gonna change the answer. So we had gotten to the point where I didn't get July's payment, because it's August. I didn't get July's payment, so it was fire in the hole. We did a letter of demand to them. And I have a copy, anybody's welcome to it. And it just simply says,
This was the second letter, because you had already sent a first
like a
letter.
nice one.
A nice one with some attorney verbiage in it already.
Yeah.
So,
So this was the secondary letter, and I got a response back. And I'll preface that with saying, I did a letter of demand. I had included all of the Grays Harbor County Commissioners who allocate the budget for the fire districts. I included our fire chief, our treasurer, the mayor, the city administrator. I might have even put the city clerk on it. I put everybody I knew. Who I couldn't get
yeah.
was the fire commissioner's email addresses, because they don't exist. Well, we all know that's not real. So we called in every person we could possibly know, and I had just put in this original deal that I'm also going to be sending these certified, and because I don't have the email addresses, our fire chief months and months ago, while working on the RFA study, asked for those from this chief, and her words were, quote, our commissioners have elected to not have department email addresses. You can feel free to send over any information to me and I can disseminate it. So,
They're elected officials.
correct. Where there's anyway,
We could go down that.
yeah, we went down,
There's
it's all
nothing
we do.
online.
It's just,
Mhm.
so anyway, in the transparency, currently District 7 owes us $47,209.05. This is for 4 past due bills that were billed
Say the number again.
$47,209.05. This is a cumulative of 4 current billed properly, because we've been on a timeline. Our fire department's doing all the things they need to do. We have like a structure. We have a structure with the company. We get emails. We review the bills, then the fire department reviews the bills, then we review them again. This is for 4 current bills, with April's being more than 120 days delinquent.
So this is just the current bills? It's not even that.
It has that,
It has
past
the
due in
20
it as
okay.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
the
includes the past due.
it includes the past due. So I sent that original email and I got a response rather immediately that said, the district has multiple checks approved and processed ready to email out to the city. Along with these checks is a letter of explanation of what we will and will not be paying, subject review of our attorney. If you do not receive this in the coming days, please let me know. Again, that wasn't gonna work for me. So in response to that, I found the commissioner's emails and I included them in that. And I just said, good afternoon. We appreciate the district's response to the letter of demand. And then I asked our commissioner, Commissioner Rains, who fights for us. Would you please provide both the City of Ocean Shores letter of demand along with the chief's response to the prosecutor for review? The prosecutor works for the county. She's legal. Have at it. So that Commissioner Rains knew we're happy to work with you guys. This response to the city is troublesome on a multitude of levels. One of which is that some of these invoices are more than 120 days past due. And our last correspondence with the chief was May 31st of 2025, which she stated the following. Thank you for this notification regarding past due invoices for services rendered prior to October 2024. I have received the information and will be reviewing it with our legal team as well, our board, to determine next steps. We appreciate the city's willingness to discuss this matter amicably, because that was my original. The response was in result of an email sent by the City of Ocean Shores on May 30th, 2025, saying the following. That, give or take, is me saying, you owe us this money. Again, to reiterate the legality of the subject as public entities, the city and the districts and District 7 should avoid engaging in conduct that could violate Washington State Constitution, which generally prohibits bestowing gifts, donations, money, services, and or loaning credit to other entities. In an effort to uphold our duty to be responsible stewards of public funds pursuant to Title 35A, Title 52, and numerous federal, state, and local laws, the city and District 7 are obligated to resolve this matter in a reasonable, efficient, and fair and amicable manner. Absent resolution, the transaction could risk audit and subsequent investigation by the Office of Financial Management for potential misuse of public funds. Then I directed this to the chief. Chief, if you would like to provide the attorney information for District 7, we can have the city attorney make contact regarding an obligation to pay past due balances versus Section 5 of the contract, which would negate the city from being able to assess interest and fees to a past due balance that resulted in the city not billing in a timely fashion. Thank you. And that's where it left. No response since then.
Yeah, how long ago was that?
It was yesterday. So I say all of that to say all of this. This is a problem. We know it's a problem, and in a transparent way, we are trying to address the problem. My original demand letter said that they had to remit the entire amount, their 4 bills plus the past due bill by September 15th, excuse me. Failure to remit payment in full will result in an assessment of applicable interest and late charges, because I did not charge yet for those 4 bills. In addition, the outstanding balance can be subject to transfer to the city use collection bank.
So
And that wouldn't be just District 7 because the county pays District 7's bills.
So my confusion is, why did it take us so long to discover that they had not been paying the bill?
Yeah. She'll tell you.
So I believe it was, so a lot of changes were happening in April of 2024. So we, at a quick notice, were informed that Image Trend, which was our previous ambulance billing company, they were crossing over to EMS MC. They said it was going to be seamless, that everything was going to be integrated, and just kind of kept us in the loop. This, I'm going to try and hurry it up because this is a lot longer situation. So we So new finance director, new EMSMC. I wasn't super familiar with it because I hadn't worked with Image Trend because it just kind of, they already had a system down. It was simple. Going over to EMSMC, our project manager, who was also the project manager from Image Trend, transferred over to EMSMC. And she was not very helpful, like a lot of the information didn't get crossed over. It wasn't until
We had to demand a new one.
there was lots of conversations and Zooms and with the Chief Ritter, Mandela, Sarah, myself, Jake Royer. Finally got it dialed in. We had a new project manager. Everybody was on board because it was getting a little contentious with them and us. So me not being familiar with it, I spoke with Chief and was like, so where does the District 7 money, like, how is that coming in? Do they get a check, then we receipt it in utility billing? Long story short, it used to come through Image Trend. The Image Trend would send Chief Tyree the statement. The statement would then go to Fire District 7 Chief. That wasn't happening because we hadn't seen any of the emails, so we sounded the alarm, got together with EMSMC, and we were able to kind of iron everything out and dial it in. That being said, from I believe June through October of 2024, they hadn't been billed. In October, EMSMC had billed a portion to the district, and I would have to go back to our records and see how much it was. It wasn't a lot. So when was it? February. So all of the reports that came through. So we sent them the statement from June of 2024 through December of 2024. That's where so in April of 2024 is when March is when it would have been due.
Yeah.
They paid a portion that was in that 6-month threshold that Sarah had talked about, but anything prior to that, so I think it was June through October, they hadn't paid. So the June through October, on the letter, that's the outstanding balance right now that Chief from District 7 is disputing with us. And that's how it.
If I'm understanding correctly, first, it's a perfect storm of several things coming together that caused both them to recognize they weren't paying the bill, whether that was wittingly or unwittingly.
If you know that you haven't paid a bill in 6 months, would you
We're one
reach
of
out
only
to
a
the
couple
city?
bills they pay.
Like,
Yeah, so wittingly or unwittingly, but the fulcrum from all of this is that one clause in the contract that says, if you haven't paid us in whatever you just said, 120 days, then we don't have to. If you haven't collected
If
from
we
us,
haven't billed them in 6 months, then we can't collect from them.
the clause says
Yeah,
the
it's on
district
page
will not be
51.
responsible for any invoices that are received 6 months past due the original date of service. The district will not be responsible for the city's failure to bill accordingly in a timely manner.
And it is a little bit insulting because the reason that it goes, and I'll add that I don't think there was a lot of oversight also, even with Image Trend, because what we've noticed in all of this is that sometimes there's little things that the first responders haven't put in to get uploaded. Like there's a series of numbers and dates and times and all these things. And if certain specific ones of those are missing, they can't be billed until they're filled in. And so now there's oversight on that. Like she'll get a report and then she'll say to Royer, that, hey, this is missing, can you fill this in and then we can get it billed. So just because it's not here's April's bill, but there might be a March 1 on it. It's because those things weren't uploaded into that system. It doesn't negate the call for response. It
Right.
doesn't do any of that. So that's the other part, is I don't think that the oversight was also happening even with the previous company.
So two questions that I may be getting out of my wheelhouse, and if so, you can say, yeah, we just don't know. But who in our fire station hierarchy is responsible to make sure that all of those things are checked and filled in correctly before it goes to our finance department for billing?
Well, I hardly say responsible because these
It's a
are
group
things that
effort.
are, these are things that are happening while they're on call saving people's life. Like they figure it out once it
Right,
all gets
right.
uploaded. So it's like, it is a tag team effort. And I think that that's where there's been, like, it's a blessing in disguise because now there's even more diligence where Shantae and Royer will work diligently for those couple days, making sure everything's in there, which we can't tell you how many times we never billed somebody in the past because there wasn't anybody looking those things over.
A question, it looks like this contract was done, December of 2021.
Correct.
Is there any talk about updating a new
So-
contract?
Oh,
I would hope.
yes, the interesting thing is, and we do have it on our, I think we even have it on the website, but we have the previous contract also, and this is like a complete like 180 of what the previous contract looks like. So it was a really weird, I don't know why this happened, and in this one specifically, we have to give 120 days notice of termination to renegotiate. Well, that makes me nervous. At no point is Ocean Shores, at least all the firefighters I see there and the residents we work with, gonna say, sorry, we're not gonna help you. You know what I mean? So it's a weird, I don't even like the fact that you have to terminate.
You have
Like,
to
it
say
should
term-
just say, we look at renegotiation or whatever every 2 years or something because of rates and service fees and all of those things anyways.
So the bottom line for me, I think, is, I think you said that's clause 5 or whatever it is, that
Yeah.
one paragraph. The bottom line is that the attorneys and the courts have to decide is that a legal statement in that
Well,
contract?
I'm
You know, and my
Yeah.
opinion is, no,
Three
it's not
attorneys
legal.
have told me that is bupkis, so it's not real. We've spoken to our city attorneys, our city attorney, another person from their office, another person from their office. You cannot do that.
Okay,
You can't.
We cannot give services. It is like the most, like, you just can't do it. Right.
so,
But just as much as I'll say that, as you see us trying to get this money, you can't not pay for government services
Right.
either.
right.
It is just as egregious.
So first, I applaud your guys' effort in finding this, putting light on it and taking the steps to rectify it. And it sounds to me like the next step is probably going to be in the lawyers or the court's hands. But that you guys have done, you and Shantae have done the due diligence to present the legal machine with the facts needed to adjudicate the case. And at this point, that's all we can do.
Yeah, and I don't know that I'll get a response back because I did say in there very clearly, your attorney can talk to ours. And that might just be where it goes. Yeah,
But in the bigger scheme of things, if the Supreme Court, who has made some really bizarre decisions, in my opinion, ruled on this and said, yeah, you're not gonna pay, you don't have to pay the $50,000, round numbers. It's not that big of a loss to the city because it's $50,000.
I disagree. That's almost one firefighter.
That's half of one.
Right, but
So it is a big deal when the firefighters are saying, hey, we need more guys, hey, we need more guys, and we're sending ambulances out of town.
I'm not, I framed that poorly. It's from a fiscal standpoint, and what's our biennium budget? It's like $30 million, roughly. So $50,000 against that biennium, whatever the biennium is, 30 million, is not a hugely significant, doesn't mean that, in my opinion, this is more about doing things right and following the law. And there is too much happening in the nation now that just doesn't seem to, it's not following the law. I think it's important that we follow the law. And
Yeah, I think that we've spent so much time on it, not just because it's the right thing to do, it's because the citizens here are paying the utility
Mhm.
rates for services, and they are being asked for more firefighters, which there is no doubt that's needed. We have ambulances going out 3, 4 at a time, and we are not being paid for services rendered that could help that could stop it. These are all things, this contract specifically is something that when we do a rate study, it's looked at. How much revenue comes from that? Because that makes a difference on what you're going to have to include on the utility bill for EMS.
in no way did.
So I know what you're saying. It's just, I just want to make it very clear
Yeah.
that that's why 2 employees are spending this much time and getting more and more with the person, because we're, and I don't want to you're not talking about a finance director position. You're talking about life safety positions. Like, if anything, we should be tackling this money above most of it. So,
Well, and I think the other thing is, we don't want to continue to set the precedent going forward.
and I do think that that's kind of where it was like,
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the shell shock. I don't know. I do know that, we have a great relationship with Commissioner Rains, and I feel confident knowing that, if there is something to be fixed, she is going to walk beside us in fixing it.
Perfect.
Good,
I
thank you.
also want to just add, so, and I don't know if it's in the paperwork or not, but the 2025 rates for the ambulance transport, so it is $533 that we get from District 7 when a when a firefighter paramedic leaves the city gates and has to transport somebody outside of the gates to the hospital. If they leave the gates to do what they do outside of the city gates and they don't do a transport, it's $266. So it's half of that. So 533 to go to the hospital, 266. The amount from 2024 that is a portion of this is $19,020. That's the past due amount that they owe us from 2024. We had found it in time to bill them for 2025. The rest of that amount is from 2025 that they chose not to pay even after we had
So the
spoken
difference.
to everybody, and Sarah sent an original letter, so.
In the mid-90s, when I was an EMT in El Paso, the average cost per utility ride to the hospital in El Paso, which is not that big of a
10 cents.
geographic area, $600. If you got in the box, somebody was coughing up $600. And my point is approximately, my point is 533 in today's rate is pretty darn cheap. And so maybe even that needs to be.
And that's what the district pays us to take their calls and transport.
And if we chose not to, people are dying, and that's not a good choice. That's not an acceptable
Yeah.
choice. So, okay, so
No, yeah, and that's just it. So, we're staying completely in our lane in the way of response. That is Chief Ritter, that is Chief Mandela, that is, we are only coming at it from, at no point will you see a lack of service for a demand of money. Like,
No.
it's just not an option, but we have to find a resolution. So that's, I don't think things like that have been brought forward. This is something we're working through. If there's anything that, comes, you guys will be the first ones to know, but something will happen either way.
So,
Thank you for the detail.
thank you again so much for following up on this.
Cost allocation process and review. So last time we left you guys, the project, those 7 action items, really 1 through 6 is what we were gonna do, 7th being the very last one, which would be a budget amendment. Shantae worked diligently after the financials for July were done. In August, she archived 225 expense accounts that had not been used nor were needed or just were bad
No.
bars numbers. That is a total archive of 450 because we're on a biennium budget. So just that in itself, you'll kill less trees printing out your expense codes. The big part of the cost allocation, if you guys remember, not the biggest part, but one of the big parts is that we took note that all of the maintenance for vehicles and all of the fuel was being expensed from the general fund.
Yeah.
Not from EMS, not from water, sewer, any of those. So, when all the digging started happening, a lot of those departments never even had a fuel code. So they've never done it. So 6 fuel codes were created. We did send a rather lengthy descriptive email out last Thursday to all department heads saying from this moment forward, you are to associate all of your fuel costs with your respective departments. And that'll be a better tracking system too, to really figure out expenses in the future. We're 10 codes in, so the cost allocation ones that said transfers in and out. If you want to chat on that a little bit, because you're in flux right now with that.
So with the updates and the changes that Tara has laid out for us, part of that is going to be, we're going to be in a transitional point where instead of transfers in, transfers out, they are going to be labeled as cost allocation. And that's where the money will come from, go in, go out. A lot of them are expense codes that I have entered in right now. And those will play a part too when we do our budget amendment towards the end of the year. We should have more information on that at the next finance meeting.
And then the last part with the cost allocation specifically is that we August being able to do all of the expense codes, because we had those, and then setting up those fuel codes and doing the massive journal entries to back all of the purchases
Yeah.
and all of the all of the transfers out and putting one big one back in, but we ran out of time. So the journal entry will happen right after the August financials are completed. So we are, I don't feel like we're behind, but we are along. Our fingertips only work so fast. And so that's all I had, other than I did send out the email. We need to do the same thing on the revenue side and hopefully get that done in September. It's the same project, same theme.
I imagine there's going
story.
to be less.
There's a lot less revenue are small.
So per your email, I have the time and I'm quite willing to spend the time. But I want some detailed instructions again, because even though I did the lion's share of that the last time, that was a while back and I don't even remember.
Yeah, we can resend what we need done. That's not a big deal. But that portion's really helpful, and then it's just a quick check on our side and start archiving. So, if we could get that done in the first 2 weeks of September, we could probably get the revenues archived
Yeah.
in September too.
Before we move on, I want to make clear to both Denise and Allison, in no way, I have time and I get a sense of fulfillment for doing something useful a much better sense of fulfillment for doing something useful than I do for laying on my bed and watching TV. So I am quite happy to do this. And you guys have much broader, more priority things to spend your time on. I'm trying to make it clear that I'm happy.
We'd love for you to do it.
We'd love for you to do it. Still owe you lunch from the last one.
So
Yes, we do.
I'm not looking for recognition. It's just.
I know, but we,
Hey, Richard.
we know numbers is your thing. So.
So that's all I have on the cost. So it's pretty on schedule and already just that expense stuff is pretty exciting in itself, and the fuel codes. I do think it'll probably take everybody a month or two to like ask 21 questions about the fuel codes, but we'll get there. Before we move on to these couple annual, I know we're all bored to tears with my voice, but there's a couple things that I love Shantae put as updates that you guys should know about. You know that we switched to the cloud for our Springbrook system, which is our accounting system for the city of Ocean Shores. And with that came a whole lot of, that was a report that didn't exist and things like that. The expense and revenue reports looked a lot different when we went to the cloud, and that's because the previous treasurer that we had when they onboarded in 2014.
1902.
Yeah, 1902, Springbrook, since we were like only one Washington city that was still on this specific system, created what's called crystal reports, which was a beautiful thing because you could make the report look exactly how you wanted it. You could have the percentages used, you could have exactly what was expended, what was left over, but that wasn't a real report in Springbrook. So when we did this cloud update, we got the expense reports and she probably actually did cry. There was tears, and panics. And so she has been working diligently, with Springbrook and has, I mean, you're within seconds of having what you need.
So what I thought that we were gonna be able to do with the Springbrook Cloud was through a program called Tableau, which if you're familiar with QBEs, they're hard.
Yeah,
So
not easy.
query by example, it's,
like a
Tableau is a on steroids QBE. Can I say steroids?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And so the report that I had received, back after working with a couple gurus at Springbrook to try and mirror our old Crystal report, I know you wouldn't have liked it. Like it,
You had to calculate your own numbers to find.
I know you wouldn't like
Yeah.
it. So I'm just like, all right, well, I guess we'll have a presentation on how to read and go through our current ones in the cloud. On my friend Rachel's last day that was at Springbrook, she said, I just want you to know that there's a program, it's called Backup Database, that you can use through Springbrook, and you will be able to access your old reports, but they only back up at midnight,
Mhm.
so like an after
The
batch.
next day is when you
And
have
so
to
I'm
do it.
like, I'll take that because, but when we're working on the financials, I can have those completed. I can use the current reports in the cloud, but I can present to council and everybody, your old reports.
Yeah.
So we do have access to this database. It will take a little wizardry. So I am working on, I have access to it. I need to find the report. That's where I'm at. So hopefully for August financials, you'll be able to see your old reports. Yay.
It makes a big difference. It's not just, oh, this is a report. Like, we want, the whole reason for all of this is to make it easier to read, not just for us, but for
Yeah.
everybody.
Nobody
And
should
it's,
have to do
yeah,
math to find
nobody
that
should,
ending balance.
no. I mean, that doesn't scream,
It's fun.
hey, I wanna show you guys what we're really doing. So The other thing that came also from Springbrook almost simultaneously was if you've ever gone into utility billing and paid your utility bill, you have to give your card to the person, they have to input it like it's, 1975, and we got card readers, which is awesome, but they've always been able to take the cards. On top of that, we were able to get the police department a card reader. So for all your fingerprints, your pet licensing, CPLs, they can now take credit card where it's always used to be cash or
Well, not
check.
yet, it's in the works.
Yeah, it's going. So that's a big deal because we're all trying to get to this century and slowly but surely we're doing it. Cause if we didn't have enough to do.
Right.
We like to add.
We
throw
do.
some
I'm
more
like,
in there,
this will
yeah.
be fun.
Let's do it all at once.
In another little update for the finance committee, we are at the point of updating the rates. As you know, water and sewer have CPIs built into the rates. The cap on both of those is 3%. Last year, the rate was actually 3.8, so it went up to that full 3%. This year, it's 2.7.
Yeah, so for the last 4 years, I believe, 3 years, Don Williams might correct me. We have capped out, so we've been at 3%. This is the first year in the last like 3-4 years
Several,
that
yeah.
we've been under the 3%. So the water and sewer rates will be at 2.7.
So those are just little, good tidbits that, Shantae had prepared.
One of the
Also.
things that I want to, something I read a couple of days ago, bears on this. And when we say 3%, so for round numbers, I have a $200 water bill. It's not 3% of $200. It's 3% of the increase, which is $1.75.
Yeah.
And so we're really talking about 3% of $2, not 3% of $200.
No,
Correct.
no.
And I just wanted to clarify that because there's a lot of people who pick their facts from alternative universes, and they confuse things.
A lot of money.
Okay, we'll get through these ones really quickly, cause these were just because, hey, why don't you know more? Every, October or November, it'll be in November this year. There's two very specific things that get brought forward, relating to finance. Right from the budget, because we're not talking about the budget this year. That we have to have like a public hearing for, and it comes before the council as an ordinance to pass. And that first one is our property tax levy. So, the city is required by November 30th every year to adopt a property tax ordinance specifying our general property tax and EMS levy. So in your agenda packets, and you guys have all been council members, so you've seen, this is where I go through and do 100 different pages of math to figure out what we should be doing for our property tax and our EMS levy. They provide us an estimate. You want to be almost perfect or above it, because if you are less, you are getting less. So we have a whole system that helps, you plug in the numbers, we have equations. And that's what decides how much the city of Ocean Shores is going to obtain for property tax and our EMS levy.
Okay.
Okay. So that one will come forward at the November meeting. Similar to that is our recovery of lost taxes. This one, each January, a new tax roll is created to levy property taxes needed by each district. Once established, adjustments are made to the amount of tax collectible on a daily basis. These changes are due to exemptions granted after a levy certification. So basically, we do a lot of the things based on estimates, just like after the first of the year, we give actuals versus trends kind of deal. Well, after that, they realize, oh, you
you could have done this, but it was our fault, essentially. Not that it's their fault, but this happened or that happened. And so they send us, the county does documents that say for our specific levies, we can re-levy that amount. And then I sign that. That's brought to the council, as a resolution that you want me to do that. I don't know what would possess somebody to say, no, we don't want that, but, you know, it could happen. So that's just
I
those
don't
two.
wanna take your money.
Yeah, those are just those two quick things, that will come forward to council, just kind of anticipating. I will probably, the estimate seems to come at the last minute, and it
yeah.
kind of drives me crazy, because I just want the real one, but, when I get it, the finance committee will get it. Last deal on our agenda, this is just for notification purposes, our WCIA insurance for liability assessment came in for 2026. It is a grand total of $429,333 for the city. And that's only 62,000 more than last year. That sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. There is no takeaway from that. But our increases over the past couple years have been enormous. So this one was kind of a little bit of a relief to get, because I anticipated it coming a lot higher, so. And that's just our liability coverage for all things city. So, that's all I have for the city, because we love spending time here.
Well, I just want to say thank you to you and you guys. You two have done a tremendous job on this. And
Absolutely. I think your team
Incredible.
should be, where's the money? Because it looks like you have looked throughout all of the incredible details of the budget, and you've done an amazing job in finding areas where we really needed to improve.
Yeah.
I agree with all of that.
Phenomenal.
And with that thought in mind, sir, if you've got this minute, when we adjourn, have a one-on-one private conversation with you the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, did you want to talk about LTAC at all? Finance wise?
Well, I think the LTAC committee is meeting, as Sarah said, on September 5th. And one of the things that we are seriously looking at is, excuse me, is last year, all of the projected money was spent. And one of the things we are looking at is keeping back some of the money for projects that come up during the year. That seems to be the standard for every other LTAC that I've looked at. We've looked at, sorry, my allergies are bothering me. We've looked at Westport, we've looked at the county. I've looked at Port Angeles, someone I had talked to when we were at the conference. And every place seems to be holding back money because there are things that come up during the year. And especially for us with the convention center, you know, that makes us a little unique. So that's one of the things that we're looking at. The other thing that we're looking at, and these are decisions that will need to be made by the committee. The other thing that I'm going to propose to the committee is that we have seed money. You know, some programs need seed money, but in the past, after the money was allocated, the recipient would get all of the money up front instead of on a reimbursement, which is again really the standard for most of the LTAC cities that I've looked at.
So this year's LTAC recipients, they ask for 300,000, they get 300,000, but they don't get it in a check. They get, you spent $69, you get reimbursed $69.
Yeah, I think that's what we talked about, that we would like to see.
That's just me.
So before I worked for the city, I worked,
at Timberland Bank in the loan servicing department and mainly did the insurance on all of the properties that Timberland had. And if your home was damaged and you had to put an insurance claim, you had to have the check sent to the bank. And the bank then would either pay the contractor or will pay you on reimbursement. And the reason for that is that we wanted to we wanted to ensure that our investment was put back in. And so it was always very weird to me that money just, like, the minute, I mean, there's some of them that will be banging on the door at the utility billing department right after the first of the year, asking me where their check is. And it's just very odd to me, because if anything should happen, or a nonprofit dissolves, or a event gets canceled, it really just leaves the city and that individual nonprofit or company in this place we just didn't need to be in at all. So it's just something, again, the holdback I've done in the past, where I've given them all of the scenarios, like if we hold back this much, this much, this much, so it'll all go through LTAC, but I think it's just building off of what the previous LTAC committee did, who built off of what that committee did. So I'm excited, because it will make me feel a lot more comfortable.
And just from what I'm hearing, that's why I said at the beginning, I'm glad you, not me, because you are going down paths that would never even occurred to me. So I appreciate your thoroughness and diligence at figuring it out. But then another question, what's the status on the Shiloh right now? I rarely click on Facebook. Every once in a while, something moves me in that direction. And I thought I saw something that said, oh, the Shiloh's open. Is it open or closed?
They got a TSO, which is a temporary certificate of occupancy, and that was based on the fact that all health and safety related things that were happening there had been taken care of. The last remediation in the letter that was posted on their door was that they were required to have a full building and fire inspection. Our building official that's helping the city of Ocean Shores was unable to do that until, I believe, the 3rd or 5th, next Wednesday. But because all of the life, safety and health had been met, that was not a reason to keep it closed. And financially, they have made the city whole with what they owed us, which they really, had not done in the past.
Right.
We'd either had to write off a portion of their bill, or they were put on a payment plan. I was told by the owner that I was completely unreasonable because I would not afford him a new payment plan. And I said, I will not turn anything on until you pay me every red cent. So he did, and it was a lot, almost as much as District 7. So we got it all, and I know that our new inspector, Dominic Diebel, has done an outstanding job working with them. The building official that has been helping us from Aberdeen has done an outstanding job. It has been all hands on deck, and I really think it's a testament to what the standards are with this municipality and this administration. We are not going to tolerate unsafe and unhealthy places here any longer. So everybody worked together. People were helping people do other people's jobs, and we made it happen.
So they're all caught up,
Correct.
and their doors are open.
Correct.
uh,
Temporarily.
And we.
What that will be after a full building inspection, I don't know, because I do not do that, but that right now they are.
We can only hope that they continue to maintain the facility and the standards that will excite guests to appear. I had a conversation with George Tuesday night, and apparently he lost another
You did.
big billing because of inadequate hotel space.
Correct. And that was specific.
Yep.
The convention center was beautiful, had all the amenities that we needed and wanted. Excited about food menus, absolutely could not find a hotel.
That's sad. And so hopefully Shiloh will get their system out of rectal defilade and we will have a fully functional hotel system.
That'd be great.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's all we got. Thank you guys again.
Thank
The
you.
work
Thank you.
continues.